I'm David Durso, and this is my story. My life before I met Jesus is very simple. It's not really compelling. It's not going to be something that's going to crush people and move them that much. However, I was middle class, grew up in this area, adjacent to Glen Cove is a town called Locust Valley, and I was a Catholic, and they helped me build a foundation of belief in Jesus. I just knew there was something else. You know, I was going to church. I just really was missing something. I knew that growing up, even in the middle class and having a pretty good life, I thought things such as, and they taught this, that all you have to do is be good. And you had an escape route too with being Catholic. The escape route was that go to confession, say several prayers, and you get a clean slate to start over again. That's pretty cool, you thought as a kid. However, I knew that even growing up, there was more. There were two ways you could go as I saw it. One was towards the science way, you know, and science also gives you kind of a foundation of explanation of how things start. But I always thought that they started the second phase. The first phase was always missing. How does that start? How does it all start before that, you know? They could say it starts with stardust. They can say it starts with one-celled animals, but where did they come from? So I chose early on, without making a drastic kind of a move toward Christianity, that I knew that that's the direction I wanted to take. That was the direction, the path that was calling me without me knowing I was being called. Now it comes to a point in my life where I was 18, going to college, and I knew that my foundation was Catholic and everything. It didn't come into play too much. And I went to a small college called Leicester Junior College, spelled the way the Old English town, Leicester. Hard to explain to people, outside of Worcester, Mass. And it was a good idea because I came from Locust Valley, which was a small town with the whole high school and junior high school, now they call it middle school, was all of 1,200 students. So Leicester Junior College, 400, 500 students, and I remember this distinctly. It was lunchtime. I was standing outside and one of the locals or fathers was standing there with me, and he goes, "Do you know Jesus?" And I go, "Well, you know, I'm a Catholic, I'm a good person, I don't, you know, I help little old ladies across the street kind of thing, you know, that kind of thing." And he goes, "No, you have to know Jesus." And so I go, "Well, I do, through my religion." He goes, "No, that's completely different. Do you know him as a personal Lord and Savior?" And I go, "Well, probably not." And so we talked for, say, 5 to 7 minutes, and it was lunchtime. So I go, "Look, they're not going to check ID anymore now. I could bring you into lunch. Let's continue the conversation. Let's have lunch together." So he goes, "Oh, no, I can't break bread with you." As I go, "Why?" He goes, "Because you don't know Jesus." And I said, so I really broke his chops a little bit, and I go, "Well, you probably just sinned because you hurt my feelings." And so he didn't take that too kindly, I don't think, and he left. You know, I was doing my college thing and stuff, you know, and having a lot of fun and things like that. And I was in this house called Tower House, and I met this group of born-again Christians. And they sat around, much like we do here in church, in small groups, and they said, "We're just discussing the Bible and verses and chapters and things. Would you like to join us?" So I said once or twice, I said, "No, not really, you know." And so after like the third time, they asked me again, and they were polite, they weren't pushing me. Unlike the other person at Leicester, he sort of, you know, made himself known that he wouldn't be my friend or whatever. I sit down, and I'm talking to them, listening and drawing it all in and things like that, and putting my 2 cents in here and there where I thought I knew it. And I said, "Oh, this is different. This is different than my Catholic background. It gives me a lot more than just religion." And they said, "Well, you can accept Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior." They bought me a Bible and everything. And after a number of weeks, I went outside and I prayed, put my hands in my jeans pockets and walking and said, come into my life, Jesus, come into my life. I want you to come into my life. And either I lifted my hands out of my jeans and raised them up to, the heavens, or he did, And as crazy as it sounds, that could be true also. And so I was like, I just felt this swoosh, and I heard the small voice saying, and I'll tell this to this day and back it up, saying, welcome aboard, I've been waiting for you. And I immediately turned around with chills going up and down my spine, went back to my friends, either that night or the next day, and said, you can't believe, I gotta tell you. I was all excited. The worst thing happened to me was that I graduated from college. I didn't find this church for a long time. So I wandered, like the Israelites wandered for 40 years. I probably wandered for like 20 years. Nothing bad, but I just didn't walk the walk and talk the talk until in 1996, I worked in telecom. I worked for Time Warner Telecom. I met a group there. There were Christians that met once in a while after work, and it brought it all back. I learned about Jesus again. I brought it all back to reading the Bible. Fast forward again 10 years, I became a member of this church, the Glen Cove Christian Church. I was baptized, and I became more and more involved. I taught classes, I taught the education. We had a load of fun. I was baptized quickly. I took that course 101, and I just grew in the faith. That's exactly, what happened and how I got there and how I believe in Jesus to this day. If someone knew me, if you knew me, you might say, well, David Durso is still David Durso and things like that. The slight differences are maybe more patience and things of that nature. But the big difference is this. And if someone said, how would you try to get some non-believer to like I was a Catholic, and how do you go from that Catholic, the big difference? And here it is. I was growing up Catholic, and that part of my life was until I was, 18 or in my early 20s, right? And then, so you have 3 stages. And then you went into a stage of the gray area, I call it, okay? Where you're floundering around. And I told you, I mentioned, I knew it was a choice between science and religion and now Christianity. I knew it was going to be, it was Christianity, and Jesus was the big part of it. That's the gray area. The big thing is when you accept Jesus, when I accepted Jesus into my life, was the light came on, not just up in my head, in my mind, but in my heart. That's the big difference. It's just like I told you, when he said to me in a small whisper, welcome aboard, I've been waiting for you. That, freaked me out. Now I lead the small men's group, the men's group. Somehow when I speak at the men's group, it's different, or at church, or when I speak about Jesus, it's different. That's not me speaking, that's his words coming out. And when I pray, it's different. You don't have to pray rotely, remember, you can, but he's in my heart, my body, my mind, and my soul, and my bloodstream. That's the difference. That's kind of a difference that you can't explain unless you just say it that way. And someone may say, well, give me examples. Well, I'm just going to tell you flat out that you want to hear the voices say, welcome aboard, I've been waiting for you, give it a shot. And that's the big difference in my life. I'm David Durso, and this is my story.